Going on YouTube, this is your boy Chef with Quest for a Game. Now, yesterday we went over deck trends and the winning profiles from the 10 and 15K over the weekend with the PPG that happened in DFW. Now, what I'm going to do today is show you how to analyze these decks, look at common trends, so that way you're prepared for set champs and you know what to play moving forward. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so now we are going to go over how to analyze the format so that way you are ready for set champs. The easiest way to do that is to look at the top decks from the most recent tournament, the PPG. So, being that Worlds has kind of formulated what we're seeing now, we kind of have a good idea of what to expect. So, first deck, of course, we're gonna see is red-blue. Now, red-blue, its weaknesses are decks that win very quickly, really aggressive decks. But the problem is, if you are too aggressive and they blow out your board, then you aren't really able to recover and they will just blow you out because every time you summon something, it gets blown out. So that tells you right now that you have to have something that can win early game, but also has some recovery. So that tells you not too aggressive, but also not too late game either. Now we have Amber Steel. Now this deck did really well. Look at what we have here. We have discard, a lot of discard actually. We have 3 cards dedicated to discard. We have aggro, and various mid-range cards as well, because we have some control elements. We have Rapunzel to draw. They have Dock to draw. So essentially what this deck is trying to do is discard their opponent, and then while they're trying to recover, just questing as quickly as they can. This deck does it, this deck does it, this deck does it for the most part. This is more of on the control side. This build would be weaker against red-blue, but stronger against everything else. So if you're gonna take a deck to set champs, keep that in mind. Almost every single deck has discard in it that is not red-blue. This is a full discard deck. So like that's discard. This has a little bit of discard, not as much because it's more of just a straight aggression style deck. This has discard in it, actually quite a bit of discard in it. This was the first Amber Steel that really wasn't focused too hard on discard. So if you can fit discard in your deck, and we all know that discard really only is in yellow and green. So if you are playing those decks, make sure they have some form of discard. I will tell you personally, You Have Forgotten Me is an incredible discard engine. I've used that in many decks and it's won me several games against red-blue. The trick with this card is if your opponent is playing red-blue and they are inking their hand as fast as they can, the minute they're down to 2 to 3 cards, you play that. Once you play that, and if you can get them to top deck, chances are, if you already have a wide enough board, you probably got the game. So be cautious with that. Whereas red-blue, we have Merlin's Carpetbag. So they're trying to draw as quickly as they can and get through their win conditions. When they can guarantee a popsicle every single turn, then that makes the deck much quicker than it would be. And it makes it a little bit impervious to discard. So if they get the Merlin's Carpetbag and you didn't have the ability to discard it, then it becomes this cat and mouse game where they're outplaying you. If you are more of a control, try playing something like this, because you will answer most aggro decks and you'll be able to answer even, I mean, this deck doesn't really have many bad matchups. It's actually really good against the majority of the format. So if you're a control player, you play this. If you're more of an aggro player, if you're more of a mid-range, you play something like this. Now, if you don't want to play either one of those, then something like this can work, or something like this would probably be the best. The reason this deck was successful is because this has a really good win rate against Amber Steel and does pretty decently against Red Blue and the rest of the format. So if this deck, think of it as like the rogue choice that has much better matchups than, let's say, a Red Blue, because a Red Blue can lose to anything that is super aggro, like very quickly. And that's kind of the choice you choose when you play Red Blue. It's like, okay, I'm going to be strong in every other matchup, but I'm guaranteed a loss against aggro. Well, most of the time. Now, there are ways to play around it. Sometimes they can brick. There's a lot of things that can happen. But notice in the top cut, we only have one single Red Blue. So that could be dependent on matchups. So the safest builds right now are Amber Steel. We are in an Amber Steel meta, but to counter Amber Steel, then green purple is great. Certain types of builds of Red Blue can counter Amber Steel. If it's like a heavy Sisu build, those do pretty well actually against Amber Steel. But we are dealing with a heavy Amber Steel meta. Now, I know a lot of people who have seen my videos before know I'm usually on the Bolt build, and I tried it this weekend. It did not really work because I went against almost nothing but Red Blue. And against those decks, naturally they're going to keep clearing your board, and since the Bolt build is more of a character-based deck, it doesn't quite work. You have to have a win condition that allows you to win either very fast or without your opponent interacting with your board. So the reason Red Blue works is naturally because even if their board gets blown up, they still have win conditions. The Amber Steel that I chose didn't quite work. Day 2, I tried Mufasa just to see if that could squeak out some wins, but the problem was it's suffered from the same thing, having character-based boards against Red Blue, and that's actually all I went against was Red Blue and Amethyst Steel. The one Amethyst Steel I went against, I got Zeused in that match, I want to say 7 times. So I couldn't keep characters on board. Like, it was funny. I had a Maui Shark and I had Chippendale, the 6/6, that quest for 3, and both of them got Zeused in the same turn. I was like, wow. But just picture the fact that you can't keep characters on board. What decks can you win with? So a lot of these decks do a lot of bouncing. That's fine. You keep your best characters in hand. This one specifically can, with Be Our Guest, return their characters from their discard to their hand. This one, it tries to discard to avoid that and can essentially keep the characters on board that way. But if it gets wiped out, it gets wiped out, and it's pretty much game over. Same thing with Turner Dog, but this one's trying to win before that happens. This one, it almost doesn't matter if you wipe it because they're going to draw so many cards from Prince John that they can just spam the board until their opponent runs out of answers. So look at the type of deck you want to play, or here's my best suggestion. If you're going to play Amber Steel, play Vinny. Play Vinny all day. You quest as much as you can. You get there. You get to like 14, right? As long as you have 6 on board and 1 Vinny, you're good because you just won the game. So Vinny actually lowers the threshold of winning. So for set championships, try a deck with Vinny. It almost doesn't matter which one because you know that everyone's gonna be trying to blow up your board all the time. This Emerald Steel deck actually looks really good to me because it has a really good matchup against Amber Steel for the most part, better than a lot of the other builds did. Before, this deck always lost. When I did a lot of testing and a lot of labbing for this 15K, I did notice that Amethyst Steel or Emerald Steel always lost to Amber Steel, and it was like it didn't matter how good their hand was, it just something about the way it played, it just didn't work. So what I would suggest with Emerald Steel, if you're going to play it, try something like this where it's a lot of bigger characters and it can just squeak out a win pretty simply. I mean, Pete's really good. It does kind of slow down Amber Steel, but nothing fully stops Amber Steel. Not even Gantu's. Pete's are only, you know, they're only online for a turn unless it's, of course, Amethyst Steel. Amethyst Steel is really good because you can just Pete them over and over again. But the problem with Amethyst Steel is if your opponent gets a wide board, the game's over. There's nothing you can really do. So if you are playing a deck that can get a wide board, you'd be fine against this deck for the most part, as long as you can take out their boards as well and keep them from getting all of that passive lore. But for the most part, that's how you look at what to play, and that's how you know what your weaknesses are. First, yes, you have to find your weaknesses for the format. If, for a perfect example, my Amber Steel deck, it loses to Sisu. So the way to counter Sisu is discard him. Like, that's about it. You can't really protect, you can't beef up your board with Amber Steel, you can't really do much. So you literally just have to be like, okay, I know that card in your hand is Sisu, discard it, you're not getting it back, I'm gonna keep playing. If you are playing red blue, naturally you know that your weakness is, of course, aggro. So you put in stuff like Goofy, you put in stuff like Maui to kind of take out that early game, and then mid game you're starting to hit Be Prepared because you turbo inked. You have Sisu, you have Hades, you have Maleficent Monstrous Dragon for late game, which is a very interesting ad because I've been testing that card out and it's actually been insanely good right now. So if you're playing red purple, that is kind of tough right now because Amber Steel is your worst matchup and they're everywhere, and they will mess with your hand, they will mess with your board, they will keep early game, you know, basically in their hands, so you have to come back late game. If you're gonna do something like that, then I would suggest cards like, you would have to play the 4-drop Magica Dispel that keeps your opponent from discarding your hands. That would be about the only thing I could suggest, but even that doesn't quite work because all they have to do is Zeus it and then discard your hand anyways. So with red purple, it's a little interesting right now. It's in a spot where it's almost always has lost to red blue, and it's almost always lost to Amber Steel. So red purple is probably in the worst spot it's probably ever been with how it's played traditionally. But if you do play red purple, just keep those things in mind. See, what other combinations do we have? We have Blurple. Blurple is good. Blurple's good, but it's difficult to pilot and it's also difficult to build. It also can't handle wide boards, and Amber Steel makes it really quickly, and also pretty bad for the format as it is right now. So let me know in the comments down below what you are thinking about playing. If you have any questions of what suggestions for text or anything, drop the questions down below. Either me or some other people can read it and we can kind of figure out, you know, what to play for set champs. And I would love to have what happened the last set champ, where came up with the deck and it ushered a lot of people their first wins. So let's do it. Let's work together. Let's get these wins. But all right, I'm Chef with Quest for Game, and you guys have a great day. All right, guys, so that's the end of our video. Thank you for stopping by. If you want to support us, feel free to comment, like, share, and subscribe down below. But thank you for all your support. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next one.